Thanks for clicking on Wayne.com for Inside the Zone with Blake Sebring. You don't want to know what we were talking about beforehand.
But let's just put it this way. Nicholas Ferrari is on the floor over there.
He's loving it. He's loving it. What he isn't loving is the penalty kill, and we'll get to that in a second. But 6 games remaining before the playoffs hit.
Yay.
It just kind of feels like maybe you have a different view. They're just kind of treading water, and I think that's understandable.
Yeah.
They're just kind of waiting and floating along until the playoffs get here. That's at least the way it seems from the outside looking in.
Totally.
And that might not be a terrible thing.
And there's nothing they're doing is going to affect them in 2 weeks.
Right.
Not a thing. And yeah, they'd like to win every game, but if they don't, they're not losing sleep over it, and they shouldn't be either. It doesn't affect them one way or the other in the standings, and they got a bunch of guys who, if they had a full roster, would be sitting in the stands because they're hurt, but they don't, so they're playing. And you want to be full strength. Would you rather be full strength now or in 2 weeks? It's 2 weeks is wins every time.
As far as this team goes, what did you see from the team this past week? Because you mentioned this isn't going to be the roster we're going to see in the postseason. Guys are dinged up that if it's postseason time and it's roster cut time, they're going to be playing. But the one number that jumps out to me is they allowed a power play goal by the other team in every game, 2 twice. One, of course, the overtime game winner on Wednesday. 5 for 11. Other teams were against their penalty kill this past week.
And it's incredibly simple. Everybody's going to blame the goalie, and I'm going to tell you it's not the goalie's fault. Nobody's blocking any shots. I mean, they're not blocking anything. And that's part of it. That's a big part of their penalty kill, and they're not blocking any shots. You've got some guys in the lineup who can't skate, who aren't quick enough we'll just leave it there, to get out and get those shots. And it's just not a priority right now.
But if you're Gary, are you worried about that? Because it is something we have talked about for probably a good month now, is that, we were, and at the time the Komets were playing so well, it felt like nitpicking. Yeah. But now you're to the point where when you get to the postseason, you have to nitpick, because in some games you're going to have to play, maybe Toledo in the second round. You're going to have to play some pretty close to perfect hockey.
Yeah, I think this week and next week is when you nitpick on those things. I mean, I think that's when you really. I mean, what good does it do to nitpick when the guys aren't going to be in the lineup then? I mean, and Gary will talk about creating good habits and all that, and I thought they played much better Saturday night than they played Wednesday night, and I think part of that was Jamie being back in the lineup, and I think that'll take another step up when Cody comes back Wednesday. When you've got those guys who are the ones that keep other guys accountable, not in the lineup, that's hard to do. I thought Sid worked his rear end off this week trying to be the acting captain and talking to guys and tapping them on the rear end and keeping the positive going and stuff. It's just different. I mean, when you don't have, like Gary said, when you don't have Culkin, Cody, and Shea in the lineup, that'd be 3 guys on any team's defense, and it's possibly their top 3 defensemen.
Yeah, 3 of your 6.
And they're out, and it's like, okay, what do you do? I mean, you can only do so much. And I guarantee you, if Cody's back there and the forwards are not coming back to help out defensively, they're going to hear about it. I mean,
I don't think he's going to be.
He's not shy that way.
No. One of the things we talked about, some of the negative. One of the positive things, especially on Saturday night, it was the power play. 3 of 8 on the power play. What did you see on the power play that maybe they can continue to carry over and use over the next couple of weeks and build upon as they get to the postseason?
I thought they moved the puck a lot better. Here's a great tip of something to look for. When this power play is effective, they're not moving the puck north and south on the outside. They're going across the ice on the inside. And that's where they're really, really good. They create the scoring chances that way. And I'm not talking just from behind the net out front to the slot either, which is where they scored a lot of the goals Saturday. I'm talking between the face-off dots going side to side sometimes too. That really creates problems for the opposing defense, and they're really good at that when it's clicking. But you got to have the guys out there that are usually out there to do that.
Well, one of the guys that was out there, Garrett Thompson, he gets a hat trick. How nice is it to see him get on the board and play some pretty good hockey?
He's just been doing it all year.
He has such a big body, and it seems like in the postseason, those gritty, grimy, greasy goals, as they talk about, he's a guy that can do that for that.
Well, and they weren't getting any of that. I mean, they just weren't. I mean, they weren't, like somebody said online, it's like they were allergic to going to the front of the net. They just weren't doing it. Haji was doing a little bit of it, but they just weren't getting there. I mean, and that you know, you look at Desi. Where do all of Desi's goals come from? Right there, you know, that kind of thing, or right up the middle, you know, in the high slot, you know. But they weren't even getting there for a few weeks, and now I thought Saturday night they did a much better job at that.
When you take a look at this week's schedule, these are games not necessarily important to the Komets, but of premium importance to their opponents. So I mean, these are guys that are battling for postseason positioning, postseason position, period. A spot in the postseason. Wednesday versus Kansas City, Friday at Cincinnati, Saturday against Indy. What are some of the big concerns? Because you're going to get, all these teams are in contention for a playoff spot. You're going to get their best shot. What are your biggest concerns this week, and what are you looking forward to from the Komets?
If I'm the Komets, I want Kansas City to finish fourth. I want them to play Toledo. They've done well against Toledo this year. I like the Mavericks. I really do. I think they're the best team out of Indy and Kalamazoo and Kansas City. I just like them. But that's why that's a huge game for Kansas City on Wednesday. It's not as much one for the Komets. You know, I don't think the Komets would mind, and I'm not saying that they're gonna either. But if they lose, if they're doing things right, I don't think they care. If they're not doing things right, then they really care. You know, but I'd like to just see them do some things right, start to pick it up a little bit. You know, if you get beat by a great goaltending performance, tip your hat to them, you know. But I would really like to see Kansas City play Toledo. I think that's a great matchup for Kansas City, and I think it's a troubling one for Toledo.
I wondered about that because I know Kalamazoo is in that position where they could be a fourth team.
But they have a horrible schedule. They played Toledo Sunday. Now they're going south for 4 games, and it's like
not conducive.
No, not conducive. You got to wonder if they're going to survive it. You know, so that could put them right out of the ballpark. And the Komets can pretty much control Indy. I think. I mean, they beat Indy. That takes care of that.
Yeah. As far as this team goes, what are you looking forward to from this team over the next 2 weeks? Is it just getting those guys healthy and figuring out how the lines are going to work and how they're going to gel when they're all back together, like we saw a month ago? Yeah,
some of that, but I don't even care about that as much as I do about getting healthy. I want to see Justin McDonald come back to the lineup. I want to see Cody come back to the lineup. I think what this last month has told us more than anything is how really important Cody and Jamie Shasm are. I mean, and it's not always stuff on the ice. It's a lot of stuff off the ice, too. I mean, I'm excited for Cody to come back because he's happy now that he's got his elbow taken care of. I mean, he's smiling. He is anxious to get back. He is ready to go. And I think that could be a huge factor in the playoffs. And just those guys' attitude and the way they lead, they need that stuff desperately. And plus, you need to be able to take guys like Garrett and Sid and Curtis Leonard and Haji, and you need to be able to slot them back down in the leadership ranks, you know, so they can contribute but not have to be the guy all the time and not have to, you know, carry that load. I think Sid carried that load for these last 2 weeks, and he was probably pushing himself and stressing, and, you know, I mean, it'll just be healthier for everybody.
We talked a couple weeks ago about Sid and where he lies in the league MVP race. Is there anything he can do over the next couple of weeks to kind of vault himself up to the top? Because statistically, he's very much in that discussion, you'd think.
Oh, he is. He's definitely. I think there's 3 people in that discussion. I think Pat Nagel's in that discussion.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He's like 33, 5, and 2 or 3 or something like that.
Gosh, the Komets would love to face into the playoffs.
Oh, yes, they would. And he's got like 7 more wins than the next closest goaltender. He's played more minutes than anybody. The other one that people don't think about is Michael Jolly in Colorado, because when he's there, Colorado scores. When he's not there, they don't score. And he leads the league in goals, and he's been yo-yoed all year between there and San Antonio. So it's between those 3. Now, Sid, as the league scoring leader and the league plus-minus leader, has a great chance. It's just going to come down to how do you figure that out, who gets the votes, you know.
Do you feel like he has a better chance? Because we talked about this about a month ago. Do you feel like he has a better chance now than he did a month ago?
No, I don't think it changes.
Really?
I mean, he's been pretty consistent as a scoring leader and the plus-minus leader most of the year. I mean, I think the thing that might hurt Sid a little bit is he's been, this is going to sound weird, but he's been consistent, but he hasn't really had a week where he goes out and scores 6 goals, or he goes out and, and gets 12 points. He's just been consistent pretty much the whole way through. But he hasn't.
Normally, that's a great thing,
right? But he really hasn't carried the team for a stretch, a hot streak. You know what I'm saying? He hasn't like where they've strictly counted on him to carry them offensively, and
he hasn't had that MVP moment. When people talk about the Heisman Trophy, he hasn't had his Heisman moment, if you will.
I mean, he's great, but you look at whereas, I mean, Joelie's pretty much Colorado's only offense, and Nagel's numbers are just spectacular. I mean, they're just unbelievable. Now, partly that's your teammates and stuff. And,
sure.
And Sid's gotten a lot of great help from Garrett Thompson and Baptista and Desi, and it's just part of the thing for MVP voting is people just vote the numbers. They don't. That gives him a better chance. Because they just look at the numbers. That's all they look at. Because a lot, people in the West haven't seen Nagel play that much, or maybe they've seen him once, or we've seen Jolly play once. I mean, how do you know?
Right.
How do you make an informed judgment for a vote on that kind of thing? It's not like Major League Baseball where you can see the highlights every night, or you can watch them on and off when you're on a day off and that kind of thing.
Sure.
It just isn't possible at this level. So, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be neat. It's going to be interesting to see.
All right.
I mean, I don't rule it out at all.
Sure.
It's
well,
amazing.
he's in the discussion.
Definitely.
To wrap things up, one thing you're looking forward to this week for the Komets.
How about we see some block shots on the penalty kill?
Yeah.
Let's see that. Because I kind of want to see Cam Lanigan play, too. I think
he's been good when he's been in.
He's been good. He's been battling a knee. I hope to see him play sometime because I haven't gotten to see him play because he played in the 2 road games. I'd kind of like to see what he can do. I mean, we'll just see. I don't know. It'd be interesting. There's a lot of things up in the air right now because of the injuries and such. And I don't know. They know it's time to ramp it up. This isn't a great shock. I mean, it's what's funny is only in Fort Wayne is it a huge deal if they lose 4 in a row. That's the only place in the whole league.
That's the only time in the Gary Graham era.
It's like the second time, yeah.
Second time.
The first one was in his first year. So you go 4 years without it happening, and then you lose your minds. What is happening? How about a little perspective here? How about this one? This team has a chance to earn 100 points and finish with less than 20 regulation losses. There's only been like 5 teams that have done that in the whole 66-year history. That's pretty cool.
The sky is falling.
Yeah, I know.
Nope, but we are I feel like we're just kind of waiting to get things ready and for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But we do.
I think everybody's looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be. As long as things get taken care of as they should in the first round, it could be a very epic second round and something to look forward to, no doubt about it. But of course, we'll be talking about the Komets next Monday right here on Inside the Zone. For this week, he's Blake, I'm Glenn, and we'll see you next week.